Today, we are going to explore the idea of your network, the power of relationships, how you can build more effective relationships, and why it matters to you. I invite you to listen to some of my story that I'm going to share. Today's just going to be a little bit of a snapshot and insight into this topic, because this topic, it can go so deep, and I could sit and talk to you for hours on end, but I just want to give you the highlights. I want to give you a little bit of the history and when I started to realize this, and we'll dig into what you can do with this when it comes to your social life, your business, and maybe even your romantic life. So episode 7 of The Gentlemanly Things. I'm your host, Brian Lipstein. This show isn't about how to be a gentleman, but it's the art of living like one. And let's explore that one conversation at a time. All right, everybody, welcome back to The Gentlemanly Things. We're so excited that we've now had a few guests on the show. Hopefully you enjoyed the last episode with our guest from Davidoff Cigars, Alex. I think he really brought some great insight, and I learned a lot. I hope you learned a lot, and definitely am paying more attention now when I smoke my next cigar. But today I want to get into the power of relationships. Why do relationships matter? How do they relate to being a gentleman and the way a gentleman lives? Let's just jump into it. When I was thinking about what I could talk to you guys about today, I kind of went back to the first episode. And if you'll remember, talking about influence of how to dress and the lack of influence I had through my father. My father definitely didn't know how to dress himself before I started working in this industry. But one thing he did teach me and showed me very strongly growing up as a kid and a role model was the power of relationships. Often as a teen growing up, wanted to go to events around town. So I grew up around Philadelphia, and I loved going to see live music and concerts. We loved going to sporting events and any other special events that might have come to the arena here at the Wells Fargo Center as we were growing up. Anytime I wanted to get to a show maybe that wasn't at the Wells Fargo Center, where I had some inside access, thankfully. But I love going to shows at the Electric Factory, the TLA, the smaller venues around the city. And I was able to watch my dad pick up the phone and make a call and work a relationship that he had that really was beneficial to me, because I attended concerts that were already sold out, and was given tickets after the fact. We were able to get tickets complimentary to a lot of shows because somebody wanted to say thank you to my dad for something he had done for them in the past. That showed me I couldn't do that on my own. Most people couldn't do that on their own. If you went to the ticket sale site, you certainly wouldn't have been able to buy tickets because it would have shown as sold out. And StubHub didn't exist at the time. You would have had to show up early, hope that somebody had extra tickets they were trying to sell outside the venue. And that was the way it was done. I didn't have to worry about that. I didn't have to make the effort of traveling all the way to the venue, not knowing if I could get in or not. I was able to leverage the relationships that my father had in order to go ahead and get that access that I needed. So as I started my business, I really looked at, well, how's the best way to build this thing? I didn't actually realize it was relationships right away. We had tried to buy a list of names of people making the news, getting promoted, people we thought were in our target market, and we would send them a letter and then do a cold follow-up phone call and try to get our foot in the door that way. And it really, I was struggling with that. And so I found a group online that was through meetup.com, and it was called the Philadelphia Entrepreneurs Meetup. And I thought, well, I'm an entrepreneur now. I've started this business. I'm running a company loosely at the time. It was me and just one other, and we had no employees. But here I am, an entrepreneur, right? And so I feel like I fit in at this entrepreneurs meetup, and I started going and I started meeting people. And as I got a little bit more comfortable in the group, I brought up the idea of, well, how do you grow your business? How do you make sales? Because what I'm doing isn't working. It's working very slowly and clearly not fast enough. And that led to an entire hour and a half conversation about networking. And I had not really been familiar with the term at this point in time. And I really I knew about it. I knew about the power relationships, but I hadn't put two and two together yet at this point in time. This conversation was really eye-opening. And ultimately what came out of it is, hey, there's all these events around Philadelphia. Some you can attend for free, some require a ticket. But if you go to these events and you meet people and then you genuinely start to get to know these people, they're there. You can leverage them to help you meet the right type of people that are going to be interested in your product and your service that you're building here. I started networking around Philadelphia, and I really built my whole business around relationships. I stopped sending those letters. I stopped making cold calls to people, and I started pursuing opportunities to put myself in the right room with the right people. And here we are 20 years later, and those relationships are still some of the strongest foundation of what I have. When we talk about relationships, whether they're business relationships, personal relationships, social relationships, intimate relationships, whatever the nature of the relationship, right? There's things that have to exist for both sides to say, yes, I want to enter into this relationship and benefit from pursuing it, from maintaining it, and having it exist, right? And so when we talk about, I'm going to start with a business relationship. When we talk about doing business together, three things have to exist, right? You have to like the person, you have to trust the person, and you have to see some commonality between the two of you where you can connect on that deeper level than just the surface and actually build that commonality that says, yeah, I want to keep getting to know you. I want to spend time with you because I've talked about how valuable time is. I've talked about how much I appreciate your time, and really the intentionality of time being a key to that threshold of what makes something a gentlemanly thing. So if you look at how we live our lives as gentlemen and we think about what supports that lifestyle, it's not just the things in it, but probably more importantly, the people in it, right? Because you can have as much money as you want. You can have all the toys in the world, the most expensive things, but it's the relationships with people that is human nature. And that's what fulfills our being on a daily basis. If we have all the things in the world, but nobody to share them with, what are they worth? We have to like each other. We have to trust each other. We have to have that commonality to be able to build that relationship. But that's not all, right? And that has to exist, but that doesn't necessarily mean if those three things exist, that it's going to click right away, right? You don't build trust right away. Trust takes time, and it's built over time. And so you have to obviously make a good first impression. Part of what we've talked about in the episode about image is how clothing can play a role in that, right? Because we show up and people are going to react to the way we present ourselves, both from color and pattern, but also the clothing choices we choose to wear. Do we feel like we are on the same playing field with each other based on the way we show up? And one of my favorite things that I've been talking about consistently since the episode with Luke and the House of Dorme is that respect is given to be earned, right? And when we show up and we show up with respect in mind for our audience, we earn that respect back. So clothing plays a big role in how we choose to show up in those senses, but it's not the only one, right? And so let me go back to the progression of my story. After starting to network in Philadelphia, I was getting out there. I was giving away as many business cards as I could. I was getting as many business cards as I could. I have thousands of business cards that I've collected over the years. Not every single one of those business cards turned into a relationship. Some of them never turned into anything other than a piece of paper that was exchanged between two people. Why did some go further and others never turned into anything? It becomes the intentionality of it. So either somebody was intentional with me or I was intentional with them and took the next step and said, hey, let's get to know each other a little bit better. The way we would do that, we would meet for breakfast. We would meet for coffee. We would sit down in my place of business or their place of business and have a one-on-one. Maybe we would go out and do a fun activity together where that commonality I talked about could be explored and used to build the trust and the likability on the other side. As I was doing this, I was I don't really know what I'm doing. Let me figure it out. And I met somebody and they said, look, I coach individuals in how to network. And I said, I don't know if I need that. It's expensive. It's a big investment. He understood that I was young and I appreciated it. And so we sat down and he said, normally our sessions, we would work over 4 sessions, 2 to 3 hours at a time, meeting and working on things. But let's just get to know each other. And in the conversation initially, he saw that I had put enough of the dots together that I really probably only needed about 2 sessions with him. And so I went ahead and made the investment and worked with him for those 2 sessions. I will tell you, it is one of the best investments that I probably ever made, not just for my career, but personally, because it really started to make me look at relationships more strategically and build them with intentionality, which I hadn't necessarily been doing. I had been showing up saying, well, who are you and how can you help me? Right. And that's how most of us show up. It's, well, what can you do for me? As I took more and more coaching over the years, another class I did was sales training. And in the sales training, they had a saying called everybody's tuned into the same radio station, WWIFM, right? That's what everybody's listening to, WWIFM. And that stands for what's in it for me, right? What's in it for me? And that's how most people approach relationships. When I started working with the coach, he really opened my eyes and he said, Brian, there's 3 4-letter words that are key to making relationships faster and making relationships deeper and more meaningful. He said, can you guess what those 3 words are? I'll get a spoiler alert. I got 2 of the 3, but those 3 words are give, help, and feed. So give, help, feed. And if you can really remember to approach somebody with an attitude of how can I help you, you're going to get so much more back from them naturally, and you're going to build that relationship more quickly. So this was one key component, right? Give, help, feed. And if you are giving first, then you earn the right to ask for something back. And I'm going to bring in a lot of anecdotes into this conversation. There's another organization I'm a part of called the Business Clubs of America. It started as the Breakfast Club of America. It's now just here in Philadelphia, as far as I know, but the Philadelphia franchise of what was purchased succeeded and kind of went their own direction because they saw the power of relationships. And I love this organization because their organization, BCA Philly, and my company, Henry Davidson, we started about the same time. Their owners are actually the Jaworski family. So Ron and Liz Jaworski are the owners. Their daughter, Jolene, originally was running it, and now she's an owner with them. She's been promoted from vice president originally many, many years ago to president, and Jolene is really the star of the show. But Jolene has put such intentionality into an ethos and a culture of the organization that they make sure they only get the right people in there, and they really hit on it's about doing business with each other, but it's about building the relationship first. And they have a saying of a mentality of a how can I help you first mentality. So anybody not possessing that mentality of wanting to help others as opposed to what's in it for me doesn't make it past the board selection to become membership of this organization. But the saying I want to bring into this is they have a saying that relationships are like bank accounts. You can't withdraw from a bank account if you don't first make deposits into it. If you go to a bank and you say, my account's at 0, but can I have $500, please? The ATM is going to say, you don't have enough of a balance to pull out of this, right? So relationships are the same way. If you don't have a balance in that relationship, a positive balance, then you don't really have the right to ask for something back. But the power of people, right, that leveraging of the relationship, going back to my father being able to get tickets to sold out shows, he could only do that because he had positive balance in the relationships with the people he was asking for those favors from. I didn't know that at the time. I just saw how powerful it was. And I thought, wow, that's really amazing. And that's something that's probably pretty important in life. And we hear it in different facets, but we don't always connect the dots. I went to the University of Pennsylvania for my undergrad degree. So many people talk about the power of the Penn network, right? Oh, you're not just going to get a great education, but you'll be connected for life. There are so many people that will connect with you because you went to Penn. and they went to Penn. And because of that, they want to look out for each other and they want to help each other. Right. And so every school has that, not just Penn. Everybody's got pride in their alma mater. And you can make that easy connection over, hey, we were at the same place, not necessarily at the same time, but we went through a similar experience together that we can now connect and meld together. Talking about relationships, right? The idea of give, help, feed, you have to have a positive balance in the relationship. So you have to give to it first before you can ask for something back. And that ask may be, hey, let's do business together. It may be, oh, I see you're connected to this person, and would you provide a personal introduction to that person so that you can validate that you know me, that you trust me, and I can build trust with that other person more quickly. That's how business gets done. That's how everything happens. If it can happen the same way in the dating world, right? If you have a friend and they want to introduce you to their friend, by the nature of them connecting you, you're going to build trust more quickly, right? Somebody's not going to look at you and say, oh, are you a good guy? Are you not a good guy? By that friend saying, you should be talking to my friend Brian, they're validating that for you, right? And they're bringing that trust, or that barrier of trust, they're bringing it much lower. It may not go completely away. You still have to show up. You still have to act with value and bring integrity to any relationship. But it's much easier to get over that hurdle because we all have those walls up. Most people in the world, right, are tuned into that WWIFM. And because they're saying, well, what's in it for me? What can I have from you? That makes all of us say, I don't know you. I don't want to give you anything. Leave me alone. I don't trust you. I'm skeptical, right? And my time is valuable. So stop calling me. Don't go all the way back to my childhood. Stop calling while I'm at the dinner table with my family. If you remember those calls, I remember them very, very keenly. And it was always telemarketers trying to get a hold of somebody in the household when you were young, right? There's no trust in that. But I've got my wall up because everybody is trying to get through that way. And it just builds over time. It builds kind of an idea of, stay away from me, right? Let me surround myself with my network and just keep my network around me. But there's power in that network. And if you can grow that network and grow it intentionally, that power gets leveraged so far beyond what any sort of marketing engine might be able to do. Maybe different depending on the product and what you're offering and the reach of social media today. Social media didn't exist when I was starting to do all this networking back in 2000. No, I should say it did exist. It wasn't used the same way. And a lot of the advertising that exists on those platforms did not exist at the time that I was learning how to build these relationships. But I've built these relationships over all these years. And that's how really I'm leveraging those now to bring the guests to you guys and to bring the guests on this show. I'm able to get some of the guests that are going to be joining us because of the power of the relationships, because I connected with somebody or had somebody else connect me with somebody in their network and say, hey, Brian's got a show. You should be on it. I think you have something valuable to offer and it could be good for you. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch on that for today. The idea of hanging out with people that we have things in common with. We'll kind of, let's dig into that a little bit. Right. If you think about your social circle, most people in your social circle are probably about the same, right? They're probably about the same income level. You live a similar lifestyle. Maybe a lot of them are in your neighborhood, live in similar sized houses as you. And you have similar values, right? You have similar values because maybe you had a similar upbringing or you've had similar successes in life, but things that connect you. And then you could think about maybe, a small fraction of your circle that kind of has a lot of nicer things, right? And then maybe a small section of your circle has, maybe not quite as nice of things, but they're still great people. You have long-standing relationship with them. Maybe you've grown and they haven't quite grown the same way, but you still have that relationship. So if you think about the circles, and if you think about kind of categorizing that circle, as an A, B, or C, and whatever your definition of A, B, C, it's just a level 1, a level 2, a level 3. Understanding that there are differences, right? There's differences in social status, in wealth and income, in values, in background, and everything else, right? But most people in your circle, I would say 90%, 80 to 90%, probably all have similar characteristics to you. And then you might have 5 or 10% below, 5 or 10% above. Well, as you get to know people, you have to understand that the person you're meeting has similarities in their circle. And if that circle is the target audience that you're trying to meet, then you're great. You're in your what I would call your A circle, right? That's your A targets that you want to build and grow by surrounding yourself with those people. But if you're meeting somebody that would be considered your B circle or your C circle, then they're probably not going to be the ones that bring you the value of what you're looking for. Doesn't mean that you can't help them, right? Maybe you could help them get from the B circle to the A circle if that's where they want to be. And if they're looking to elevate themselves, everybody's going to have some sort of overlap. So when you meet these people, maybe you are able to help them more, right? And approach them with a, how can I help you first mentality. When you start to get to know them and see the connections they have and who you want to meet in their circles, there will be a point, if they're a B circle, that there's somebody that's going to be in your A circle and you're going to be able to jump. And when you meet that person, now you're going to have in that person's circle more in your own A circle of who you're looking to meet. So I hope that makes sense. It's a little bit abstract here trying to explain it. It's much easier if I can draw it. And really it's about when you meet somebody, being intentional with the time you're spending and what is the goal that you're trying to get to, but not being tuned in to that WWIFM with them, right? While it exists, you do want something out of it. You have to benefit from the time that you're investing with somebody. You still want to be able to help them first, and you're not going to be able to make that jump and ask for that introduction if you don't help them first. So this is what I'm talking about here is secondary to building the relationship first, and then what would maybe come out of it on the back end and how you can use that relationship to continue to elevate yourself. Right. And so being intentional with how you meet people, understanding what you want out of them, earning the right to ask for that introduction, earning the right to get into their circle. That's all a big piece of how networking and relationships work. And then the benefit of it on the backside is once you've made those investments, once you've made those deposits, you're going to be able to come out and really accelerate to get into and in front of the right people the way you want. Now, when you get in front of those people, you better show up looking the part, right? You better show up with respect for their time, because as you continue to elevate into higher and higher circles, the time that somebody is going to spend with you or give to you is going to be more and more valuable, right? They're probably more successful. Their hourly rate, if you were to ever calculate an hourly rate at that point, is much higher, right? And the way that they can calculate the cost of their time is going to be very different than where you started with a lower concentric circle there. It's kind of what I wanted to hit on today. This could be a short and sweet episode. If you want to talk more about this, I love engaging in conversation. I love sharing what I've learned. I love helping other people understand how they can build better relationships. And, it really, a lot of it comes down to culture and values. And if you think back to the episode on core values, I really went deep into that episode about my values just to give you all the foundation of how they show up, how they work, and where they come into play. And really, when you talk about a true north, it's coming into play every day. So, right, let's have a conversation. Please leave some comments. Let's get a conversation going in the comments. I'd love you guys to be talking to each other. Let's find out who's out there. Let's find out who else needs help and what we can give to other people. And let's leverage the power of what we're building here to benefit those that are in need, help them first, and then see if we need something back from that down the road, that we've earned the right to ask for that. Come out, be part of my network. If you're in Philadelphia, I'd love to have you as a guest at one of these BCA events. The last event we had recently was with David Garibaldi. He was awesome. He's a performance painter, and he did 2 paintings for us, but also shared his story. It was super impactful, and maybe he'd even come and talk to us here about his journey on the podcast down the road. So I got a chance to build a little bit of a relationship with David after that event, and we talked and we exchanged. There hasn't been anything yet to solidify it, but the opportunity existed. I put myself in the right place with the right people, and I surrounded myself to give the opportunity and be able to talk to David. He does a lot for charity, so I'd love to bring that opportunity to you guys as well to maybe hear his story and meet him. The last thing I'd like to leave you with today is if you think you're the smartest person in the room, you're not. And you've probably heard that, right? But you have to surround yourself with people that are going to push you to those higher levels if you want to grow, right? And as we grow, the people that got us to where we were maybe aren't the people to get us to the next level. And there's going to be some natural attrition and some natural changing of what those relationships look like. But if you maintain relationships, you can maybe pull other people up with you. They have to want to do it. They have to want to make themselves better. They have to want to learn and grow as well. But if you're the one growing faster, you can certainly help pull them along. That's something you can maybe give or feed to them, are the opportunities to surround themselves with other people that are going to help them elevate into higher levels. So I don't want to sound judgmental in this. It's strategic. It's just a fact of life. It exists. We have different social classes. We have different values in those social classes. That's shown in so many different ways through behavior, through actions, through schooling and education, and of course through the clothing that we wear and the things we enjoy. We'll talk about that through various other episodes. You can find a $5 bottle of wine and you can find a $200 bottle of wine. Whoever's enjoying it is enjoying it in their own way. And it's really about education. But somebody that will find that $200 bottle of wine most likely won't go back to the $5. And that's just a matter of education, opening your eyes and giving yourself that opportunity to be lifted into that level because you've done the work in building the relationships that lead to the success that allow you to explore in these ways. So this really has been a lot of fun for me. I'm enjoying this. I'm growing. I'm learning. Please give me your feedback. Thank you for taking the time today to spend with me, learning a little bit about the way I look at relationships. And, really as a gentleman, it's surrounding yourself with people that are going to continue to push you, going to continue to help you elevate, continue to help you see those higher levels of success so that you can continue to enjoy the finer and finer things in life. So I'm Brian Lipstein. This has been another episode of The Gentlemanly Things, not a show about how to be a gentleman, but about the art of living like one. And certainly who you surround yourself with is a big part of how you live your life and the fulfillment you get from it. Think about it a little bit more intentionally. That's my challenge to you. If you've never thought about it, who can you help today? Who can you feed tomorrow? And who can you give to next week? Do those three things, give, help, feed. Think about who you want to meet, and you'll find a path to get there if you do it with intention. Please give us a like, subscribe so that you are alerted when new episodes come out every Wednesday at noon. We release them, but you'll get an alert if you're subscribed. And please go and share with your friends and give me the feedback. I'm really enjoying the feedback you guys give so that I can continue to get better myself and bring content to you that is valuable for your time. And again, I thank you for spending it with me. That's all for this week. I look forward to tuning in with you again next week.